Welcome to this live session hosted by FAB, your insurance broker and moving to France expert. FAB is like your immigration GP. We're here to answer all your questions: visas, residency, healthcare, driving, taxes, properties, and much more. We navigate the complexities of France to help you embrace the French lifestyle you've always imagined. Although we are experts in the immigration industry and have been working in this space since 2015, none of what we say should be considered legal or financial advice. It is also worth noting that the immigration industry is an ever-evolving field, so things that are relevant today might be outdated or inaccurate when you actually move to France. FAB's main source of revenue is insurance through our brand, FAB French Insurance. Our main goal is to ultimately help you move to France, as we only sell insurance to clients applying for a visa, a residency permit, or those with a French address. During this session, you can ask any questions you want. However, we will not answer long questions to keep the pace fast. We also won't be able to address questions related to personal or very specific issues, but rest assured, we can get in touch after this session to either advise or refer you to one of our trusted partners. And now it's time to get this event started. Thank you for joining us today. We hope you find our answers valuable. Our greatest reward would be to be a part of your journey to moving to France. And hopefully, it starts with this session today. We will pause briefly to allow all registrants to join. The session will begin shortly.
And good morning or good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So, well, whatever this is, the morning or the evening where you're looking at us, thank you all for joining. So this morning or this evening, I don't know, we're going to have the pleasure of having, we have the pleasure of having Alex from FAV Services with us. I won't forget her this time around. We also will have Nani in the background who will try to answer as many questions as she can when you're typing them in the Q&A section of this Zoom meeting. That's probably on the bottom of your screen somewhere. Just for some housekeeping, we're going to try to answer as many live questions. We try to prioritize those live questions, so feel free to ask down the road. Also, for those we cannot address or answer live, we will send a follow-up email after this session to all registrants so that you'll have the direct details of Alex and his team, and obviously our team as well. So you can ask questions over email. We'll be more than happy to address those, and we'll try to, again, address and answer as many questions as we can. Okay, enough with me. I'm Fabien, your host from FAB Expat and FAB French Insurance. But this is all about Alex and you guys this evening. So, Alex, up to you. Can you tell us who you are and what you do?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Alex from FAV Services, sister company with FAB. We help you to relocate to France regarding quite everything that you have in mind. It can be the visa, the healthcare, the residency, driving in France, finding a school for your kids, or maybe whatever, finding a new house, new home, or even traveling with your dog. We're here for assisting you in almost every way. So I'm very happy to be invited by Fabien tonight to answer your questions, and feel free to ask, and I'll be very available to answer promptly.
And as we can see, a lot of vehicles in your background. I suppose you deal with vehicles too. That's one of
Yes,
your
we
hobbies,
deal
isn't
with
it?
vehicles too.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. Well, Alex is also like a vehicle. I would say hobbyist. Like you have like what's the name of a Willis, a Jeep Willis, don't you?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. From 1944. That was parachuted. Very nice car.
Yeah. Well, and for the motorcycles enthusiast as well, he also does that. So a lot to talk
Yeah.
about for those who like vehicles.
Well,
But okay, so we're gonna try to answer. So we got a lot of questions. Thank you guys. We got a lot of questions previously to this session, so we'll try to cover some of those. Again, we'll try to answer as many as we can. But okay, so we'll start with some very simple, practical advice. So the topic this evening is to try to address questions about the physical relocation to France. So practical steps and tips on how to make it happen. One of those things is timelines. Okay, so obviously for most people out there, it probably implies or involves getting a visa done in the process. Alex, can you tell us what's the realistic timeline for a visa application?
well, to be very clear with everyone, you can think about your plan of moving to France in any time, starting today or next week or in 1 year time. You just have to aim a specific date that you want to be here, and the French authorities will allow us to start the process of application 3 months in advance maximum. So as we already also need some very recent documents, don't start the real process before 3 months upfront. And the idea is you can take any information you like, even few years before committing the move.
Okay, well, good to know. So yes, that's something we seem to hear quite often. That 3 month threshold to actually get things moving. I mean, they can probably start earlier, especially if that's a business to anticipate on the business plan and stuff like this. But yeah,
But the
that
application in itself, it's 3 months, three
yeah.
months delay.
Okay, great, good to know. Well, same to stick with these, the tedious paperwork, and we'll get to the juicy bits afterwards. It's just to get warmed up. In terms of financials, what is required in France? What kind of documentation and then how much is required?
Okay, so as I told before, you need to apply 3 months maximum upfront. So that means they need the most recent document from bank statement that you have. They will the consulate will ask you to have 3 months bank statement, the most recent one, and the most recent statement of savings. So even if you don't have incomes because you have a retired or any situation, we still have to show that you have a normal life with some balance over 3 months period time, and another document at the moment where we apply with the savings.
Okay.
Those are the documents needed.
And do they know to show that on a French bank account?
No, it's not mandatory. Even though it's quite impossible that you have a French bank account upfront from coming into France, because you will have to open it only when you'll be here. Because nearly any bank will never accept to open a bank account from foreign country until you're not physically in France. So
Okay.
it will be your American or UK or whatever country in the currency of your country. This is important. When you will do the residency, then you will have to have a French bank account with the bank statement in French and in euro. But when you apply for the visa, then it can be in any currency and in any language.
Okay, good. Frank, there's a very quick question I can answer. Can you briefly mention the requirements if your person already has an EU passport? Simple. There's none. You're European, you can move to France. There's no requirements.
That's right.
Apart from applying for healthcare, maybe, yeah, manually.
Yeah, you have to wait a certain of time, but yeah.
Okay, good to know. So yeah, and I don't think we said that. How much money do they need to have or to make?
Well, it depends. It depends on the case, because students is not the same as if you were a retired person. But let's talk about an adult. The French administration wants you to have at least the minimum wage in France, which is 1,400 euro per month, or 12 times this amount in savings. And if you come as a couple, then it's 2,000 euro per month, or 12 times this amount in savings.
Okay.
And if I may, it's important not to come with just the limit in savings, because you could be rejected because they think that it's just way too low. So if you have any way to prove that you have more things, or maybe that you are going to have a big income, then it's important to show that you are self-sufficient.
Tammy is asking, can these savings include investments?
As long as it's a bank statement or a company statement showing that it's the money that is placed hold, then yeah, it's totally fine.
Yeah, basically, as long as it's like liquid or as if it's cash. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, actually, it's just this one is funny because Christian is asking about pensions and social security. Just for those who are watching from outside of the US, this one is a false friend. In Europe, social security is healthcare, and it's mostly a retirement package in the US, but it's just a false friend. If you hear someone speak about social security in France, they probably refer to public healthcare. But yes, so I suppose Christian is asking about that in the context of pensions or retirement package. So can they use pensions or social security from the US?
Yes, they can. Yes, they can. Muriel's question is fast. Regarding the import of cars and driving license, yes, in fact, you are allowed to use ANTS websites, but no, you cannot do the import yourself, because you need France Connect account in order to be legally do some moving of a car registration, and you'll have the France Connect account only when you'll have the residency. So during your first year, you cannot do it yourself. Mainly, you can eventually do the driving license exchange, although it's a lot of paperwork, and I can tell you the agents are not very keen with answering in English, so it can be an issue.
Yeah, when you don't have a France Connect account, weirdly enough, you may not do it yourself, but well, for example, professional dealerships and stuff like this can do it for you. So it is doable technically before, but with the assistance of someone, and you can do that yourself once, like Alex was saying, once you have residency indeed. Okay, good. And sorry, I have a bit of a hoarse throat, so I'm doing my best, guys.
Shara, Christian is fast.
There's a question you saw, sorry. Yeah.
If I am moving to France with my French spouse, do I still need to show the same bug support? In fact, if your spouse is French, she needs, or you will have to do a residency regarding her specific way of living in France. You will have to ask carte de séjour, and for doing carte de séjour, you still have to prove that you have enough money to live in France.
Yeah, this one is actually very funny, because when you're the spouse of an EU citizen, you can move to France without a visa and apply for a carte de séjour directly. But when the spouse of a French citizen, you still need to do a visa from wherever you're moving from. And then you would have but the bright side is you will have a multi-use carte de séjour, so residency permit. But yeah, but basically, as you do have to apply either for a residency permit or a visa, you will have to prove the same thing, but only for the non-EU spouse.
To register.
Okay, Stephen is asking, I don't need a visa as an EU citizen. What do I need to register a company? Régime réel, I suppose you wanted to say. Well, okay, to register a company, what is required? So one thing I can answer, and then I'll leave Alex to answer the rest.
No problem, we can talk together.
As you're European, and same for the spouse of a French citizen, same for the spouse of an EU citizen, you will have the work authorization. That's one of the perks of dating someone or married to someone who is French or European. But obviously, then if you're a European, you can work in France and set up a business and stuff. There's absolutely no limits. But Alex, maybe you know also what kind of documentation they require?
Yes, you will need a stable address. You will not be able to have a Airbnb or hotel address. You will need indeed to have a French bank account, FR76 starting, and the delay, how long it takes. Well, It can take up to 1 month, 1 month and a half
Well, it depends. It's
approximately.
France, it depends if we're on strike or.
It's true.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Barbara is
Okay.
asking if you have an EU passport, what are the requirements for opening up a bank account or renting an apartment? Same as the
No,
French. Yeah.
no, same as the French. But though they will still need to see that you have a real proof of stable address and that you are not here illegally and
Yep.
so on like that.
For
So
renting, yeah, that's going to be
yeah,
the address, same
yeah.
requirements as French. Okay. So I'll do some questions also because, we touched base on import. Just a quick question that we got before that. They were saying, can they import their personal belongings duty free?
Yes, absolutely. What is very important is that you must declare everything in an inventory list that you submit to the customs when you arrive. It can be through your moving company or even yourself if you just come with your car and some luggage. Um, if you don't declare anything, it might be considered as trying to fool the system and you may be trying to hide something. As everything of your belongings is duty free, then feel free to declare whatever you have. And what is very important when you come, for example, from the UK, it's not very far, and you just can cross with the shuttle with your car. Don't forget to put your car on the list because it's a belonging. It's not because it's a big object that it's not a belonging. So it's very important to do it.
Yeah, just a quick note. Indeed, Mary says like about what about neobanks? So actually, this is as this is difficult to create a French bank account, especially obviously before the visa process and all, or before being residents. We see a lot of our clients who use those neobanks like Wise.com,
Wise,
Revolut.
Wise and Revolut. What is important, as I said before, it's that it's a French IBAN, which is FR76. This is the most important thing. After that, it's considered as a French bank account.
The good news with those neobanks we've just mentioned, we're not commission guys, but
No.
the you can also have like I don't know, like let's say a Wise.com bank account from the US. So like it's an American bank account, but then you can start paying in euros for that. And once you're in France, you can basically transfer this and like Wise, but same with Revolut. Basically they'll change the bank details, but for you it's transparent. Okay, you can transfer that, but that's a way to have like a Euro bank account from the US first, and then once you're in France, update that. That definitely is an option. Okay. So I
Okay,
Aaron's
I
asking
have a
two
good
questions.
one. Yeah, I
Yeah.
have a good one from Dave. He said, "Hi, is there any sort of time period restriction between buying a property in France and moving into it? In other words, can I buy a property and not move into for I say 6 months?" Well, it's quite a thing because you're totally free to possess anything in any place in any country in the world, and it's perfectly fine not to live in it. You can buy it today, tomorrow, or next week. What is very important is to know that even if you're in the process of buying this place, you will not be able to put this as a proof of address for the visa or the residency until it's not fully committed. So if you are in the process of buying it and you said, okay, the final signature is 1st of January, and now I cannot you cannot provide this document to the consulate right now because in fact if you don't come to sign then it's never your home, so you would have a fake proof of address. So yes, you can buy upfront, and as soon as it's fully yours then you could do the visa and start to living it, but you cannot do the reverse. You will be obliged to have a proof of address with an Airbnb or a lease for the time being before you arrive on the final signature.
And just to add on to that, it's right. You can have a property for years and have had a property for years. There's no obligation you come into it. It's just if you've applied for a visa, in a way you need to activate it. So you need to have moved in the next 90 days following the visa start date. Otherwise, that could become a bit tricky because the activation is a mandatory part of the process. So, but it was just to complement Alex's answer. Okay, so quick question about pets, because it's also something we got before from oh, I forgot the name. Sorry, you recognize. if you hear that question. Basically, can they bring, cats and dogs? I mean, I'm talking about the most obvious. Obviously, if they want to come with an alligator, it's probably different. But is there a current quarantine period and things like that? I mean, how does that work?
Okay, what is very important is that I can help you with bringing an alligator in France because I know exactly what we have to do. It's
Is
funny, but
someone
we
from
have
Alabama listening? No, sorry.
in a previous webinar we had some customer wanted to bring some pigs, and pigs are in France not considered as animal companies, but so we have to do a special declaration regarding special administration in France, but it's feasible. What is not feasible is all the animals that are protected by Washington Convention. Even though you can still have a breed license,
Crossbreed.
so you could have one. So to answer for the cats and dogs, basically you just have to have microchip and rabies vaccines, and if everything is up to date, then there's no way you have a quarantine or any issue in bringing your animal. What is important is when you arrive in France, within a short delay, you have, or we can take an appointment with you at the local vet in order to fully register your animal under a European passport. So in case of any accident, damage, or animal lost, we can directly see to who belongs this animal, and this is what is required.
Okay, good to know. So that's about like the physical transfer. Once the pet is in France, do they need, is there a quarantine period? Do they need to do anything? And I don't know, like I've heard about a pet passport. It sounds cute.
Yeah, no, I tell you, if they are all confirmed, there are no quarantine.
Okay, and so they need to register with the vet and get like some paperwork done.
Exactly. It's exactly that. You have to have an appointment with a vet, and he will check the animal, check the ship that it's working, and it's the number matches with what you've brought from abroad, and then it's perfectly fine to import your animal.
Who does the pet passport?
A veteran vet, the
A
vet.
vet. Okay, great. Good. Okay. One of the key questions about the relocation process that we very, very often got, and even in that Q&A section about, the rentals. This is going to be a bit of a tricky question. Sorry, Alex, but can they book like a short-term rental, for their visa, or to start living in France? I'm talking about things like Airbnb. Can they do that?
Well, it depends from the country from where they're coming. The laws are not the same to everyone. That's quite funny, but it's France. For example, if you're an American citizen, then a lease or a rental at Airbnb for 3 months, it's perfectly fine for the visa application. But if you are a UK citizen, then you have to prove a 12 months fee, a 12-month lease to apply. So the rules are not the same depending where you come from.
With personal opinion, I think it's a bit political, and that keeps on changing. And also, just to not scare some of our listeners, the 12-month lease we've mentioned is much more flexible than what you're used to in actually both the UK or the US. In France,
right.
a 12-month lease does not commit the tenant for 12 months. Okay, you can break the contract. You just have to respect the notice, which by law is either 1 or 3 months, depending on the kind of contract you got. So,
Yeah, depending on the backlog of availability in the current city. This is the law. It means that Paris has so much backlog, so you can quit within a month and it's fine. But if you live in a very small city, then and has no people in there, so it might be 3 months.
Yeah. Okay. Time to jump into some of those questions. Okay. Well, it's a good question from Laura for the VLSTS, so the long-term visa. Do you need both? So each one, recurring income and savings, or just one of us, or just the other?
Okay, it's a good question. In fact, well, if you are not married, then the question is you must have each your own document at your own name, proving that you are self-sufficient. If you are married and you must provide a certificate of marriage, then it's perfectly fine to just bring the bank statement of one of you or of any one of you, and then in your letter of intent, you will say, "I will support financially my husband or my wife," and this
Great,
is
great.
perfectly fine.
Yeah, and then whatever it's the husband or wife, how's the other part? Yeah, no, a nice meal and some French wine then afterwards.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Um, Birdie is asking, how is passive income treated, retirement or income? Actually, depends where you're from. It's a bit of a tax question, but France has a tax treaty with, well, actually tax treaties with pretty much all English-speaking countries. But for example, if you're coming from the US, pension income is tax-free, well, remains tax liable in the US. Whereas from the UK, no, it's taxable in France, but therefore is no longer taxable in the UK. So it really depends on where you're coming from and the type of income. Like dividends is always, dividends is going to be seen as passive income, is always going to be taxable in France and then no longer in your home country. So that requires a bit of specifics, basically, to answer that one.
The question of Martin is interesting. He has the dual citizenship, US and UK, and he wants to know regarding the immigration, where should he would use the US or the benefit going to UK citizenship. In fact, it's the most what is convenient to you. So if it's better for you to apply from the UK, so apply from the UK. If you want to apply from the US, apply from the US. What is the most easiest for all of our UK customer is that it's 1 hour drive to go to France. So if you want to come a little earlier to be in the 90 days of what it's legal to start to find a house and then come back to do the passport administration stuff, it's easier even because it's much closer.
Yeah, oh, definitely. But then basically, yeah, the short answer is that they have the choice.
Yeah,
And
you have
like
the choice.
legally speaking, you can apply in either of your countries of nationalities, and also, just so you know, in any of your countries of citizenship of legal residency. Sorry.
Yeah.
So, like, if you have citizenship in the UK and you're living in the US as a legal resident, you could apply in the US as well, despite not being a US citizen. So, yeah. But that works in other fancy countries. Like, you could be living in Spain legally, so you could apply from Spain if you're legally living there. Yeah. Okay. Well, Mark, just to say, Mark was asking, can you cover taxes, US pensions, Roth IRAs, basically any kind of pension income. So 401ks, 403 IRAs, Roth IRAs, well, I won't list them all, Social Security, is all tax-free in France. I mean, you need to declare that, but it's going to be tax-free in France. Okay. So it's the tax treaty, US France. Yeah. Okay, so Steven's asking if they can open like a Britline bank account via Crédit Agricole before arriving in France. Can these be used to run your business in France by rent properties?
Yes, I think you can. It's quite funny that they would accept to sign all the documents as you're not physically there. Maybe if it's a branch in the UK and you can sign in the UK and it's accepted, then it's fine. But most of the bank prefer that the people come physically in the bank. I'm not talking about Neobank for sure, but like BNP, which is very US compliant bank always ask that the people are physically in France to sign the documents to open the
Yeah.
account.
Usually, you need to be physically there to open them. And just so you know, that there's two different kind of accounts in France. You can open up a bank account as a non-resident. So that's basically when you don't yet have the visa or something like that. It's much, much harder and tedious. I mean, it's doable, don't get me wrong, but yeah, you probably want to avoid that if possible. So neobanks are probably better at this stage. And then there's a bank account as a resident. It's different, a lot easier, but that's when you are considered a resident, so not upfront or not before that.
I have
Aleta
a
is asking
Yeah.
something very good for you, Alex. Do I need a French driver's license to purchase and register a car in France?
The answer is no. You can freely buy a car and drive a car in France, but for a period of 1 year. by that time, you will have to replace your driving license into a French one. There are some particular case with the UK before Brexit, after Brexit, when does the driving license expires. But still, if you plan to relocate to France permanently, you might pull over for any issue on the road, and you might lose some points. So they will never accept a foreign driving license for that. So my advice is do the replacement within the year, which is allowed to be freely done. So you are totally fine. But in order to buy a car when you arrive, it's perfectly legal. Even though if some garage don't accept it because they are scared because they don't know how to deal with that. But mainly I deal with that every day. So the answer is yes, and I would be very happy to help you with that.
Yeah, that's actually a good point you're raising. Also, well, like in many countries, but there's a lot of things which also may be mostly commercial. Like sometimes you legally can do something, but like you can legally you can open a bank account as a non-resident, but then commercially, will you find a bank that's going to be willing to do that, or will you find a dealership that's going to be happy with you not having a French address, not having so sometimes it's important to realize that there might be like a world between like what you legally can do and what you actually can do because of commercial interests, which may not be aligned. Okay, so Peter is asking you, okay. Is US IRAs or a 401k statement can be used for the visa? So I think the answer is no, because it's not liquid unless it's liquid, right, Alex?
I didn't get it.
It's yeah. Peter is saying basically can retirement or pension income, well, saving plans from the US like 401ks or IRAs, can they be used as a proof of income?
No, it has to be cash. Well,
Liquid.
Money available now.
Exactly. So if you can demonstrate that you have access to that kind of cash or the cash or some of that cash and it meets the requirements, yes. Otherwise, no. And
We have a
usually no.
Farinas that's saying that I have a French driving license and it's pretty old. Is it still valid? Yes, it's a lifetime document. Now the new ones have a expiration date, but your is still valid.
They're gonna want you to exchange it for the new ones eventually, but
it's
like,
pretty
yeah,
sure.
still valid. And well, and even if it's no longer, you can still exchange those old licenses for the new ones. So yeah. Okay. So Terry and Emily was saying, military pensions from the US, tax as French income. So again, any kind of pensions. So disability benefit, it really depends how it's labeled. For that, I would suggest having a conversation with an immigration lawyer. Or by the way, you can ask any questions following this session in the follow-up email we'll send you. We can also put you through to some of our trusted partners, including tax lawyers and stuff like this. So, for those specific questions, I would strongly suggest having a conversation with that, just to make sure, again, because like a one-fit-all answer usually does not work. It really depends on exactly how you file that in your US tax returns, for example. Okay. Just Ezekiel, I see the question about job sponsorship visa. Usually, honestly, we're not the best one for that, simply because I won't lie, this is very, very difficult to find a sponsor for your visa. And that's usually something that the employer is going to take care of. So we definitely can help with a lot of things, but we can help find a job, and finding the sponsor. I mean, if we could, we'd literally be driving Lamborghinis and not the Fiats that I can see in the Alex background. So yeah, no, finding jobs is difficult. Yeah, it's difficult, especially as a foreigner. So yeah. Okay.
For the kids, I don't remember for the anonymous spectator. Doesn't say his name. I want to move with my 15-year-old son. The minimum savings should be the double of minimum wage again. Well, to be very clear with you, I don't have exact in memory the year old, which is considered still as a kid. I thought it would be around 13 or 14
That's
maybe,
it.
but
Yeah, it's 12
yeah,
years
that's
old.
right.
12
Okay,
years
so
old.
15 might not be the good option.
Well, 12 years old, they need to make an individual appointment at the TLS center, which I suppose is the center.
Yeah, but still, it could be the financial support of his son.
But that's,
So
yeah, usually for kids, it's not double minimum wage.
yeah, it's
They
not double.
usually add for kids, it's, well, again, it's usually 30% extra they expect to see. Yeah. It's like minimum wage, your share, plus 30% for the kid or each kid. Yeah. And same as you were saying for the spouse, it's in a way, it's a bit of a discount, but it's undisclosed. We try to match, X times the requirement, but they do apply some of those discounts for families. Christian is asking, when applying, can you apply for a resident card initially, or do we need the long stay visa first and then renew into a resident card? It's actually a good question. There's a lot of confusion around that. So basically, can they apply for the carte de séjour, the resident permit directly, or do they need to apply for a visa and then renew into a carte de séjour?
Well, you already answered to this question by saying the sentence. In fact, you're able to do the carte de séjour only if you already have a kind of access to the country. If you are a European citizen or if you're married to someone who has a European passport. But generally, the rules are always the same. First time you come, it's a visa. And when you do the visa, you would declare it's in order to stay permanently, so it's specific visa. And then at the end of the visa, you're allowed to renew it into a carte de séjour. Otherwise, it expires and then you can go back to your country.
That's it. Yeah. So short answer is no, you can't. Well, I mean, unless you're European or spouse of a EU citizen or stuff like that, you can't apply for a residency permit straight away. You have to do the visa and then renew it into. Well, also, just to be clear, there's different types of visas. There's talent permit. There's different types. So we're giving you the general scenario, guys. Also, just to make sure we're trying to answer things as simply as we Frenchly can.
Jennifer question is interesting. The answer is yes. Do you have to declare to the French authorities all your bank accounts? The answer is yes, but they might not check it. So you're free to do whatever you want, even though you should do it. But
and they won't tax it. Just so you know, we don't tax savings.
Yeah, it's just they want to know. They just want to know.
Yeah. Ronnie is asking, do you need to pass the language test requirement for applying for a residency, like a multi-years residency permit, a carte de séjour pluriannuelle? So well, actually, this is interesting because first it depends on the situation, and they're changing the laws. So right now, okay, it's the language test. It depends on your type of visa, but the language test is only for the 10 years permanent permit. And if you fail it, it's okay. It's just that then you won't have the permanent one. You'll have another one. They're trying to expand this. They did, but it's not yet in effect, to also like shorter terms permit. Again, if you fail the test, it's fine. You can also revert to the 1 year, what they call the temporary permit. But Alex, if you have any comment on that, or did I say that?
No, that's right. That's right.
Okay, Aaron's asking, Reading Connection, which is a journal for English speakers in France, for those who don't know. There have been instances where people have not been able to renew visa, etc., over in France due to their income being non-French based. UK pension. Is this quite common? I want to comment on this one because I have seen. So if we're talking about citizenship, where the money is coming from does matter. So that is correct in the context of citizenship. If you're applying for citizenship, but all of your income is foreign based, like for example, you haven't moved your private pensions to France, like they'll see you as not having financial ties or not strong enough with France. So yes, that has been the subject for refusal for citizenship. I insist on citizenship applications. I have never seen, and I think Alex, neither did you, clients who have been denied either on the insurance side for me or the admin visa side or residency permits for Alex, who have been denied because of foreign income, as long as they meet the requirements.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
But if they no longer meet the requirements, And that could happen with foreign income because of currency exchange rate or assets no longer being liquid or stuff like this. That could happen. Otherwise, then if the answer is it quite common? I would say no, it's far from common. It's actually not. It does happen for citizenship though, yes.
Bob Wilson is asking, in order to import a car, does it have to meet the European standard? It's a big yes. You'll have to bring your car to the drill to get to be conform, and it can be very, very costly. We have a customer this morning who has to send his Subaru back to United States because it's overpriced, like more than 7,000 euro of cost to put it to French conformity.
Although
So don't do
there's,
that.
I don't know if it's gonna get
sometimes
through.
it's easy. It's sometimes because this afternoon I had one guy with Volkswagen, and it's like 200 euro conformity, so it's fine. It's fine. It's not always a big no, but you will have to meet the European standard for sure.
I've seen something. I don't know if they where it's gonna be applied, but one of the EU-US agreements that has been made is that in theory, European Union countries are supposed to recognize any car from the US which is compliant with US norms as compliant in the EU. This is theoretical. They did say it, the European Union, and there's a bill about that. But then in the EU, it needs to be applied, same as in the US on a state-by-state basis, same in Europe. And honestly, I'm not sure France will do that considering how we deal with conformity and compliances, but who knows? Maybe it's going to happen. As of today, yes, it needs to meet European standards.
Yeah.
And that's why, I mean, it's also a good way to slip in a joke here. That's why I think Alex is much more popular actually buying vehicles rather than importing them.
That's right. That's true.
Because at the end of the day, when you do the math, it's very often cheaper to actually buy rather than to import. But it depends on the, I thought that if I buy an apartment a few years before moving, I can get a French bank account.
You can open a French bank account if you are physically here.
And she has a French address.
You can prove the documents. It's like if you had an account in a foreign country, they will need your passport and an address in France. That's all they need.
The thing is, yeah, she'll have an address and stuff, so that's definitely a lot easier doing that. But they do ask, are you a French citizen or you're basically a tax resident? And the problem, just understand this, the problem is not being physically there or not, or having an address and not. I mean, it is one of the problems potentially. But the problem is, where are you a tax resident from or in? Because if it's not France, and especially if that's the US, because of FATCA, French banks don't like US citizens. It's just, I mean, that's why Alex mentioned BNP. BNP is US friendly, but usually they're not in France. Banks are not US friendly because of their legal obligation to report back to the US government for US citizens. So,
Martin Phillips, good question.
Yes.
No, so, Beatrice Collat. I had a carte de séjour years ago. Yeah, right.
But it is no longer valid. I want to retire in France to be near my father, as he's 92. Wow, congrats. He still has his British citizenship, and so do I. What process should I do for long-term residency, meaning I will no longer live anywhere else? Or just so you know,
you will have to apply with a visa, and then at the end of the visa, you will have to apply for a carte de séjour. That's
having had a carte de séjour before, unfortunately, doesn't make any difference.
Doesn't help you. No, pas de passe droit.
Yeah, it's a good sentence. Okay, Martin's asking the general issue of car shipping. I have an electric vehicle. Would you recommend shipping that to France or other complication related to electric vehicles?
Martin, this depends if your car is American or UK. If it's UK, then the conformity is possible because the European plugs are nearly the same regarding charging cars, but regarding the United States, it's no way compliant.
Yeah, well, and also because just so you know, the electrical grid is not the same Okay, so you'll need different plugs and stuff like this. It usually doesn't work. I mean, and we're not talking about compliances here. It's just on a practical standpoint. It's not just the plugs themselves. It's like the electricity. I don't know exactly, but like the voltage is different. Stuff very, very different. So usually, it's probably not worth the trouble. It is doable, but yeah.
Fast answer for Brad. Unmarried couple moving to France. The income requirement be me or just one of them. As I already said before, if you want to support your spouse, you just have to write it down in the letter of intent, saying, I will support financially my wife. And that's pretty fine.
And even if you're not married, that work. It's just that.
Yeah, and well, my wife, sorry, my companion of life, but you
My
still
partner,
have to
yeah.
say you will support this person.
Yeah, it's basically when you're married, it's automatic, okay?
Yeah.
And like you have to defend the file, but that works if you're not married. That's it. But yes, Brad, you can.
Myrta, can I open a bank account in the city in France where I know I would like to reside? Would this help in the process of renting, purchasing a home to follow? Well, yes, but it's not mandatory to be in the exact same city. As long as it's in the same group from the entire country, then it's perfectly fine.
Okay, Ed is asking, I have a lot of books. How detailed does my declaration has to be? Well, just say books, okay?
Books,
A crate
box of
or-
books. Yeah, box of books.
Unless you have valuable ones, otherwise it's just like books.
Yeah.
Can you renew your visa yearly in year of becoming? Yes, but that's a different type of visa. You can reapply for a visa every year. Yes.
Yes.
But if you spend most of your time, oh, well, it's a very good one, actually, because a lot of people are confused between immigration regulations and taxes. And so, well, you can have a non-resident type of visa, but if you spend all year long in France, even if you haven't applied for a resident type of visa and you're not part of French healthcare and none of that, but if you spend more than 183 days in France, and there are other criteria potentially, but then you should be paying taxes in France, okay? Don't be confused. I mean, those topics are intertwined, but they may look as separate, but they're not, okay? And so if you have a non-residency visa, it doesn't mean you won't have to pay taxes. It depends on how you're going to end up living in France or not, yeah.
Jan, question is interesting. I'm curious how immigration service and other services are affected by the recent government shutdown in France, and there are longer wait times, fewer staff. Let me be clear. When I do a driving license exchange, it can take 8 months to obtain the last final document. 8 months. In fact, the thing is, the backlog is terribly full now. And even if you respect the delay of renewing your visa into carte de séjour, you're obliged to do from 4 months to 2 months earlier before the end of the visa, even though you will exceed this time because the backlog is it's too full. So all services are completely down. I don't know if there are fewer staff but indeed the backlog is terrible in France.
But it has nothing to do with the recent shutdown. It's just something to do with French public workers, having like 2 hours lunch breaks, being on strikes, and this is the apéro time, so we won't do any extra times, overtime. So this is us French just being French.
Matthew, excellent question. Do we need to declare your stuff when you arrive day one, or is it comes over 3 to 6 months later? In fact, you even have 1 year period to bring all your things. So you have 1 year period. If you
just 1 year.
1 year. If you overtake this delay, even from 1 day, because it happens to one of our customers last year, you're taxed, and the tax is the full tax. It was for a car. She had a 13,000 euro tax to pay to import her own personal car. So it's so stupid.
Martin is trying a very good one. Can I bring my wine collection to France duty free?
Yes, as soon as it's written in your inventory list, it has to be returned with your moving company. Each bottle or boxes if they are not open.
Is there a VAT on the import of a car from the US? I want to bring one of my cars.
Only if you are in the process of not relocation. If you, for example, want to buy a house in France to have your holidays here and it's a second house, then you'll pay 30% of tax value of the vehicle when you import it. Otherwise, it's a classic car and you'll only pay 5.5% of its value. If you are in the process of relocation, then it's duty free. You have no tax to pay. It's your belongings.
Oh, this one is good. If applying for residency, is there a French fluency test, like basically from visa to residency permit?
No.
So you're good, guys. Although I would suggest learn a bit of French, you know,
Yeah,
at
it's
least
better.
un café, s'il vous plaît, or even better, un verre de vin, s'il vous plaît. And try to learn how to pronounce your wine. You'll make a lot of friends.
Tanya is asking, I thought that France would have to accept any European IBAN, no to insist on a French IBAN. Well, in fact, no. If you want to register on CPAM, which is the French health security, social security, or to pay your utilities, they will only use a French bank account. Otherwise, you will not get reimbursed for your medics and stuff. It's the law. They don't want you're free to have some other, you can have 10 bank accounts in everywhere in the world as long as it's declared. But in order to pay your tax, your utilities and CPAM, it has to be French FR 76.
Although Tanya is right, I mean, legally speaking, they're cracking down on this, so it should change eventually. But there are at least two administrations which I think are going to be reluctant, and probably the longest, like Alex was saying, is CPAM, which is French healthcare, public healthcare, and La CAF, which is French social services. You probably won't have to deal with those guys, but never know. But legally speaking, you're right, Tanya. In theory, any EU bank details should work, but you know, this is France. So try to say that to the prefecture or whomever is asking you for a FR starting IBAN. They're the government, so yeah. Are the rules different if we intend to stay only for 4 months? They just need like a shorter term. Yeah, but in terms of visa, it's probably a different one they'll have.
Yeah.
Like you would just get like a 6-month visa, but
yeah.
Rules are the same, but you probably will just apply for a different visa.
Before coming to France. Revolut account is a very good idea before coming to France. You can use Wise. Most of our customer pays us with Wise. So yeah, it's fine. It's perfectly fine.
Wise or Revolut are by far and large the two most popular options we're seeing. Yeah, so quite good.
When you buy home, they are furnished. No, well, yes and no. It depends what you buy. Sometimes it's full and sometimes it's not. It depends on any case, Giselle.
What was that, Giselle?
Giselle asking you, when you buy home, are they furnished?
Okay. Oh yeah, a pro tip on this one though. What the French call furnished might be a very different expectation from what you would call furnished at home. Like if there is like just a couch and a kitchen sink, they'll call it furnished, okay? Because they'll say, yeah, but you can sleep on the couch. So just make sure that they, you know, the pictures can be deceiving. So just make sure you clarify what they call furnished and what's included in the contract. Yeah.
Matthew is asking, do we need to declare what is in our suitcase too when we first fly over? Well, it depends. If you want to import it regularly as a belongings, then yes, you should be fine to declare it. If it's legal, yes,
if it's a suitcase full of cash, yes. Or if it's cocaine in there, you need to declare that, and that's probably not going to be good. But no. I mean, it's, you know, actually in that, when they're flying across, it's exactly the same as if you're flying as a tourist. Okay, if there's things that needs to be declared, you need to declare that. Otherwise, like Alex was saying, it depends if you're flying because you're actually moving with the intent of becoming a resident, so potentially the last time around, and then you need to declare stuff. But that there's a specific form for that, isn't it? Like they could have pre-fill it.
Yes. Oh yeah. You have to pre-fill it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. And actually, I think that's one of the pro tip you gave me. For example, for those who come from the UK and they're driving across with their vehicle with the intent of importing it, it's way better to actually go through the customs at the border to get.
Yes, it's open 24/7, and this avoids you going back to see an agent rather later in time, because you might leave at 5 minutes away or 1 hour and a half driving, so it's not the same. And as you cross the shuttle, it's just out at the side, so it's perfectly fine to do that.
Okay.
Question of TMB Burns is interesting, I think.
TMB, I want to move in May 2026. Congratulations. I retire on the 15th. Twice as congrats, but my pension payments don't start till July. How can I prove my income on the visa application? Unfortunately, you can't
Yeah,
unless you have savings.
that's right.
So either you have savings and you can move before, otherwise you have to wait for the pension to come. They only work with absolutes. Like they need to see things, not prospective income.
Scott is asking if he can hire me for engage me for the process. I would love to work with you with great pleasure, but in fact we can start to talk about your plans. And we said with Fabien we have a customer that was 3 years. He's saying I will come next year. I will come next year, and in fact he's coming now. And it's been 3 years waiting. So yeah, in November 26 is a long way, but still we can discuss of your plans and to try to scale everything. And so it's perfectly fine when the real day arrives. I'll be
You're
very
not
happy
being
to help.
completely honest, Alex. I'm sorry, I must disclose
Huh?
that because we do accept bribes, and a lot of wines is sometimes something we ask for when too early. So just to be clear, we do have expectations if too early. And you have to bring that to our place because we can't drive if we're drinking that.
Anonymous saying we are planning to buy a house. Is it advisable to rent first to establish yourself? Yes, it's a you should do that. You should
Yeah, it's
do
probably
that. You should
safer.
come.
Yeah.
It's safer. So you can drive around, see around what's going, and to find the proper house. It's better idea.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Well, Stacy is asking, this is a good one. Are there breed
Lost.
restrictions for dogs?
Mm,
Types of dogs, like breeds.
yes. I can provide you the list, Stacy. Oh, Stacy, I know you. You're a customer from me. Yes, but I don't think your dog is concerned. But yes, there are what we call in France the dangerous dog, well, attack dog. You have to have special rules for being able to possess it. For example, if it's important for your work, like you are maître chien. I don't know how to say that in French, but in English. But if you are in the security system, maybe, and you need to have an attack dog, then you can have the right to possess attack dog. But otherwise, it's very
And that's
controlled.
heavily
And if you,
regulated. We
yeah, it's
treat
regulated.
dogs, attack dogs, as if it was a weapon. So it's basically same as having the authorization to carry a gun or something, literally. So that's why it's very specific. So it needs to be studied. I mean, it's completely doable, okay? But then it becomes a lot trickier. It's not as easy as the process Alex mentioned before for a regular kind of dog or mixed breeds or something like that. Sherry's asking Airbnbs, is it also okay for Canadians?
I can't find the question, but yeah, Airbnb is fine for. Yeah, for the rules of the 3 months.
No, yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So yeah, no, yeah. Well, we like Canadians as well. I mean, we like the Brits too. Don't get me confused. But the unfortunately, I think it's not France. I think it's the EU still holds a bit of a grudge. So that's why they're applying the rules a bit by the books for the Brits. But hopefully they'll soften the rules. Um, Yeah, so actually, Rachel, good question. It's actually a question I see very, very often, a concern I see often for those who actually have had the property in France for a long time, 17 years in Rachel's cases, or are considering buying a house in France, but they're frightened that, well, if what if I buy a house that I don't get a visa? And especially if they're cash buyers, so there's no mortgage tied to the property. Is the visa amount lowered? Unfortunately, no, but I can tell you this. For non-working visas, so visitor visa, retirement visas, I've never seen a visa being rejected for a French property owner. So, like, if you have a house in France, in theory, it doesn't make any difference. But I do think that they factor that in. But this is one of those unspoken rules. So on the paper, it doesn't change anything, Rachel. But in real life, yes. And they usually apply a bit of a discount when they know you have a property and no mortgage. But on paper, it doesn't change anything.
Christian is asking if for the US Airbnb proof is needed to the paid receipt. Yes.
They want to see you've paid for that. Yeah, they want to make sure you've committed to something. Yeah.
Yeah, Jessica Mida also 3 months rental Airbnb for American would help us to set up a bank account. No, it has to be a stable address.
And just so you know, by
Airbnb.
the way, there's a lot of people, and I'm seeing that quite often on the insurance side. There's a lot of people who have an Airbnb booked up or lined up, and then they renew. They keep on Airbnb around, which is fine. Okay, you can do it. The problem is that there's going to be two problems. The first problem is if you don't have, well, if all you have is an Airbnb address, it's not something as seen as a permanent address in France or a stable address, and therefore there's no processes you can start. So you can, even if you could be eligible, you cannot start getting into French healthcare. You cannot have a French bank account. You probably can get a French phone number, and the list goes on and on. Or if you can, it's going to be much harder to get those things. French healthcare is going to be a hard no. If you don't have a French address, you can get into French healthcare. You cannot start the driver license exchange. And most importantly, if you're still using that address and you get to the residency application stage, it's going to be an instant refusal because they'll see you as homeless, having lived in France for 1 year. You still don't have a fixed address, a stable address. So it's very important that before your visa expires, well, actually, when you're 4 to 2 months before expiry, that's when you can apply for residency. During that time frame, you definitely should have secured your stable address. And there is a second implication. This one should be the best motivation for you. Well, if you don't have a stable address, then you wouldn't have been able to apply into French healthcare, which means that if you secure the address at the very last stage, you're not yet part of French healthcare, meaning you have to renew the costly private medical insurance we would have sold you. We have the cheapest plans, but it's still costly compared to a top-up health insurance that otherwise you would have been eligible for. So you would be losing thousands of euros, most probably. So this should be top of the list. If you're using Airbnbs, top of the list should be to try to secure an accommodation. Actually, we have partners we work with who can help with rentals. Alex, have you read some interesting comments?
I'm going. Should we set up a Revolut bank account before coming to France? Yes. Adoption certificate or equal validity as birth certificate. I don't understand. I understand the question. If you mean that it is replaceable to have a document saying that you have some kids, but that you don't have the birth certificate. Well, we have to figure it out by email. You can write to me. Marriage license need to be translated into French, not for the visa, but yes, for the CPM and residency. How easy is it to get French citizenship? And when can you apply? What is the criteria? You want to answer this one from Giselle?
Oh yeah, I didn't get it.
How easy is it to get French citizenship, and when can you apply?
Oh yeah, good one. Yeah, French citizenship. So you have to have been 4 years consecutively. So 4 years in a row, you have to have been considered a permanent resident in France for 4 years in a row. So from the 5th years onwards, you can start considering or contemplating the idea of applying for citizenship. And if you fail, you can reapply every 6 months. So that for citizenship, there is a language test, which is B2, and there is a civic test, which I probably would fail myself, but they give you a booklet so that you can study. If you know the booklet, usually you're good. But yeah, I'm mindful of the time. We're getting past the hour. Maybe we can slip a few more questions just in case. I know there's been a lot of questions. Thank you so much for that, guys. We will send you a follow-up email. Any questions we may have forget to answer or have missed, send it over email. We will be more than happy to answer that. You will be able to reach out to Alex directly. He will answer over email. He also can provide you with free consultations. Okay, so don't hesitate to ask him. So we're gonna get that done. A few more questions.
And we will answer all the questions that we did not answer. I will personally do that.
Yeah.
Within
No,
the
Alex.
next days.
Alex is great. I like to say he's more than great. He's a Buddhist. So literally, yeah, I've been to his wedding last week. Well, a couple of weeks ago. It was a Buddhist marriage. Never saw that. So I can tell you he's a chill guy. But no, joke aside, maybe a few extra questions. I've seen one which was interesting. Yeah, Dwight was asking how many month lease is considered a stable address. Actually, there's one type of contract, isn't it?
Yeah, one type of contract.
Which
It's
is
the permanent,
the 12 months.
months,
Yeah.
the 12 months lease.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we won't hold you for much longer. I mean, that's been brilliant, guys. And I'd like to say girls as well, but I think you just generalize as guys. I don't know. It sounds a bit weird. I'm not a native. I don't know. But okay, every one of you, that was so lovely being with you. Alex, thank you so much for answering so many questions.
With pleasure,
Again,
and I'll
I
be
repeat,
available.
you can ask any questions. We will send a follow-up email. We'll share Alex's email. You can send him an email. He's happy to provide you with free consultations, one-on-one. You can also get in touch with us and the team. Thank you, Nani, for being the gem in the background, answering as many of your questions as she also could. I mean, Nani, I can say she did as best as she Frenchly could, but also as she Americanly could, because she's both American and French. So thank you, everyone. We'll see you soon. Thank you for being here this morning or this evening.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye, au revoir. And bring the wine when you come to see us. Au revoir.